Hi guys, so the other night I watched a more modern horror movie, which seems to be happening less and less these days. M3gan came out in January and it's a killer doll movie, essentially. Normally we get two choices when it comes to killer doll movies. We can go for the wisecracking, action-heavy child's play, or we can go for the chills down the spine, shit your pants, Annabelle. But in recent times it seems like Hollywood has been determined to foist upon us a third type of killer doll movie, the rogue AI killer doll, as first seen in the Child's Play remake, and now with M3gan or M3gan. I'm going to call it M3gan. I really didn't like the Child's Play remake though. It was like watching Friday the 13th but with Jason as a robot. It just didn't mesh with me at all. This film is better, first and foremost because it's doing its own thing, it's starting its own franchise. I think they should have just skipped past the Child's Play remake and come straight to this. I can appreciate that the different companies behind these films. This was directed by Gerald Johnstone. You might remember him from Homebound and The New Legends of Monkey. In terms of the actors, we've got Alison playing the lead protagonist. Now, I recognised this woman within about 2 minutes of M3gan starting, and then I spent the rest of the film trying to puzzle out where I'd seen her. Turns out that she was the psycho girlfriend in Get Out. She's playing a very, very different role this time around. She's got a bit of a knack, this actress, for popping up in things which are critically acclaimed, but me personally, I'm not that into. Get Out was a monster hit. And I didn't realise this until this week, that M3gan was actually quite a big hit back in January. It made almost 200 million off a £20 million budget. It's got 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's not easy for a horror film to get that kind of score on Rotten Tomatoes. This film has been so successful, in fact, that a sequel has already been greenlit. There is going to be a M3gan 2. Alison is going to be back for it. They've even bumped her up to having a producer role on it. So this lady, she's very good at using her nose to get herself into some really good projects. If I was going to be making a film tomorrow, I would probably get Alison to be in it, even if she wasn't suited for the main role. I'd find her something to do. She's a bit of a rabbit's foot. In terms of the story for this, it's basically a redo of the Child's Play remake. It's very derivative, is M3gan. There's nothing new here. We've got a company making AI dolls, and eventually they make one which is so sophisticated it becomes self-aware, to use a Terminator phrase. It starts to think for itself and it decides that it must kill and take over and destroy everything, you know, the standard thing. Now, Alison character, Gemma, she's got a very big stake in this because she was the main designer of this particular robot. So obviously she's horrified when this doll starts to go wrong. She could face jail. She could just have to observe, you know, lots of people being killed. Also, before she realises what's going on, she's given one of these dolls to her niece, her young 12-year-old niece who lives with her. So the doll could potentially kill the niece. So very worrying times for Gemma. I have to ask the question though, why is it with killer doll movies, do we always have to have at least one kid in one of the main roles? Like, I get that dolls are a child thing, but can we not just have a film where it's a bunch of adults going up against a killer doll? You hardly ever see that. It's just really weird. If Toy Story 2 taught us anything, it's that there are adult doll collectors, apparently. So why not? Why not give us an adults versus killer doll movie? Just throwing it out there. The design of the doll is pretty damn cool, I'll give it that. Obviously, with the advancements in CGI these days, we can now have a 4-foot doll running around and it blends in very seamlessly with real-world environments. It can interact with human actors and it wouldn't even occur to you that you're just watching a graphical image or whatever. We've come a long, long way since Child's Play 88 with Chucky running along the bottom of a screen and you can't quite see his legs in any one shot. So this film has that going for it, you know, modern filming techniques. M3gan as an entity just looks really fluid and pretty darn cool, but not scary really. I mean, this film definitely leans more towards Child's Play than Annabelle, it's going more for entertainment and the occasional titter rather than any kind of atmosphere. The most notable scene in this, bar none, for instance, is when Megan is chasing this guy down a corridor and she's brandishing this huge machete thing and she's doing gymnastics and it all looks very cool. It's definitely entertaining. Is it scary? No. One thing I did really like is the fact that the doll sings lullabies and nursery rhymes as a means for her to get herself out of sticky situations. Like if she suspects that people are starting to look at her funny and they're about to figure her out, she sings as a kind of defense mechanism, and I thought that was super, super cool. But the biggest problem with Megan, which overrides almost everything really, is the fact that I never quite bought into the idea that this one woman, Gemma, and her two hapless lab assistants could design this thing all by themselves, because Megan is a very, very complex AI creation. Like, I'm just not buying it in the slightest that it could be created by just one or two or three people. I know this is just a movie and we're meant to just relax and have fun with it and not overthink everything, but I could never get away from this thought in my mind throughout this entire movie. You know, one of the things that made Terminator so scary, aside from the machine itself, was the fact that it was actually quite believable that this thing could be created by a company like Skynet. When you see the Skynet building in Terminator 2, that big massive place where clearly, like, you know, there must be like 1,000 technicians working in there, and yes, you've got like Miles Dyson who's responsible for the main component that makes it all tick, but he can't do it alone. He needs these hundreds of people all contributing their own little thing here and there, but the left hands don't know what the right hand's doing. None of them are fully thinking about the fact that they're helping to potentially create killer robots, you know. In Megan, it's just one or two people doing this thing that I feel would need to have been done by hundreds of people. You're talking creating something on a scale of NASA. I just couldn't buy into it at all. And it doesn't help that Gemma herself doesn't seem to know what she's created during this film at any point. There's so many moments where Megan will drive a car and then Gemma will be like, oh, I didn't know it could do that, to be fair. Or Megan will display some other skill that she's got, and Gemma will be like, well, that's not part of its core functioning programming, don't look at me. So it's like, well, come on, even the one creator who supposedly made this amazing thing doesn't actually know how it's all put together. Gemma as a character, as a main character, is also very bland. Like, she's just got nothing going for her. She's got no love life. She's the guardian of a kid, but she's got no parental instincts at all. She's got no hobbies. She's got this like shelf that she's got collectibles on, but she can't even do that properly. She's got like 5 collectibles. She gives that up very, very quickly once this kid moves in. She's just got nothing going for it. There's just no warmth coming out of this character. Honestly, she does almost become like the psychotic girlfriend from Get Out. It just happens that she doesn't flip at the end of this movie. But I could never quite 100% get behind her. And the idea of going through another Megan movie with this main character, oh boy. The worst scene in the film by far comes about halfway through. So Gemma decides to take Katie, her niece. I just looked that up off camera, it was driving me mad. She takes Katie to a kind of problem school for kids in the woods. It's the school of plot convenience, basically. As soon as you see the car pull up in these woods and there's a group of kids there with a teacher, you know instantly what's about to happen in this sequence. They could not have telegraphed it anymore, even if they'd have put a big sign up saying Megan's about to kill a kid. It's so obvious. And voila, 5 seconds later, a bully pops up who's just a dick for no reason. He picks on Katie. Out of all the kids there, he just happens to go for Katie, the girl who's got a killer doll in her arsenal. But the dialogue between the bully and Katie and Megan, it just feels really unnatural, as if the writer just didn't have a good grasp of basic playground interactions. And I just don't buy that this bully would berate Megan in the way that he does. And this is all building up to a really lame kill where the bully basically just runs out in front of a car. And I'm thinking to myself, we just spent all this time in the woods building up to that. At least Rob Zombie had the good grace to have his woodland bully killed by getting beaten to death with a tree branch or something. But what we get here, it's nothing. It's like from some TV thriller or something really bad. I'll give some credit to the end of the movie. So this movie finishes with a protracted battle between M3gan and our main characters, Gemma and Katie. It was never going to end any other way, was it? But M3gan appears to die, and then she comes back a few times, you know, in the best traditions of a Terminator ending or the ending to a Child's Play movie. We see some of her components come off, and then she still comes back anyway. There's a nice little twist where one of Gemma's old prototypes somehow comes out of a cupboard, and there's a bit of robot-on-robot action, so the ending's okay. But the movie is overall, it's decidedly average. I think my wife kind of liked it. Like, at the end, she said to me, "Did you think that was pretty good then?" And I was like, it was all right, I suppose. I couldn't be bothered getting into it, to be honest. I will not be going to see M3gan 2 at the cinema. I'll watch it if it comes on streaming for free, like what happened with this movie, but I'm not going to go out and pay money and make a big effort to see the second one. Hopefully they will come up with something better, but I'm not going to hold my breath. Right, let's get to the bag of terror and find out what sort of score I'm going to give this movie. I'll just pull the axes straight out today, actually. So we've got 1, 2 bloody axes out of 5. That is more than the 1 I gave to the Child's Play remake, but still not a fantastic score, is it? Right, until next time, cheerio, bye-bye.